Next week on EastEnders, tensions rise as Sharon's arrest prompts a desperate plan from the Six. Linda's fabricated statement complicates matters, while Denise rejects Jack's reconciliation attempt. Gloria's collapse adds to the drama, Ben's fate is revealed, and Harvey confronts Dean. Plus, Billy hides a secret, stirring speculation. Next week's EastEnders spoilers, the Six hatch a scheme to free themselves following Sharon's incarceration. In addition, Gloria passes out, Ben receives news, Harvey approaches Dean, and what is Billy up to? Note, there is talk of racial hate crimes and murder in this article. Next week, the Six will have to battle for their release after Keanu Taylor's body was discovered. Will the women be able to hide their crime, though, while Linda Carter speaks with the police once again and Sharon Watts stays in custody? Not only must Denise Fox cope with this, but her estranged husband Jack Branning is making another attempt at life. Ben Mitchell's destiny is revealed following his devastating final scenes, and Gloria Knight tries to make amends before a medical emergency stops her in her tracks. Yolanda Truman apologizes to Pastor Clayton, Harvey Monroe has discovered the sinister Dean Wicks, and Billy Mitchell seems to be concealing something. 8 EastEnders teases for the upcoming Week 1. Suki Panesar and Kathy Cotton's surprise strategy following Sharon Watts' imprisonment. Sharon, who was arrested and spent the night in the police station, is represented by Johnny Carter. She continues with her initial account, but when the detective presents additional information, Sharon and Johnny start to waver. Before being questioned by the police, Johnny and the other women in Walford arrange a meeting. However, Kathy Cotton and Suki Panesar subsequently disclose their new scheme when Johnny gets home without Sharon. But what is it? Zach Hudson declines Phil Mitchell's request to watch his young kid Albie while Sharon is with the police in the meanwhile. Rumors are rampant on the square as the locals gather around Bernie Taylor, who is distraught by the death of his older brother Keanu and ultimately departs for Spain to inform his mother Karen Taylor of the tragedy. As things get heated, Felix Baker accuses Phil of being behind Sharon's defense, which prompts Kat Mitchell to show there. Following a conversation with Kat, Phil overhears Denise and Stacy Slater talking and extends an offer to her. 2. Linda Carter makes a misleading claim on the death of Keanu Taylor. Jack breaks up the fight between Linda and Cindy Beale over Sharon. When Johnny informs Linda of the women's new scheme involving the murder weapon, Linda is quickly taken aback, but he promises to resolve the situation by securing Sharon's release. After Linda consumes alcohol in the barrel store, George Knight finds her and consoles her. She then makes a decision regarding her future as the women horrify Denise with their schemes, only for Phil to stand in the way. After calling the other liberated ladies to the Vic, Linda is subsequently seen fabricating a tale for the police. But the investigators don't waste any time in questioning Linda about why she kept this information from them over Christmas. Will her lie be discovered? Is Linda able to avoid going to prison for killing Keanu? 3. Jack Branning's attempt at reconciliation is rejected by Denise Fox. Jack tells Denise that he wants to be back together, but when she rejects him, he is devastated. It's unclear why he's shocked considering how he treated her so badly the previous year and how he had an affair with Stacy. However, Jack is still aware that Denise attacked Nasty Nish Panesar during the Christmas season. Will Jack understand that their marriage is finished and continue to defend Denise out of love and respect, or will he use this against her in the end? 4. Gloria Knight passes away following Eddie Knight's threat. When George gets a call from the CPS, he is taken aback. Gloria, his adoptive mother, has provided them with evidence on Eddie Knight, Christopher Fairbank, who is accused of killing Henry Kofi Asare, George's biological father, out of race. Gloria quickly shows up at the Vic to urge George to testify, but when he hears Gloria and Eddie having a covert conversation, George becomes enraged since it is obvious that Gloria is still unwilling to walk away from her nasty husband. Gloria is permanently removed from George's life by order, although George later prepares to testify at Eddie's trial. After conversing with Gloria in private, Cindy tries to get George to speak with her once more, but George declines. Eddie then calls George to the boxing den and tries to talk him out of testifying. But Eddie threatens George with dire consequences when he lashes out, saying Gloria urged him to testify. Elaine Peacock, George's fiancée, confronts him, but she ends up teaming up with Cindy, who shows up to the bar to talk to George. George is persuaded to testify in court by Elaine and Cindy, but Eddie is disgusted by Gloria's outburst during the defense's cross-examination. Gloria battles her feelings before crumbling outdoors as Eddie glares at her and George. After having a heart attack, she wakes up in the hospital and requests George to get a box from her apartment that holds vital information about his early years. After being overcome with memories in the apartment, George goes to the boxing den and is greeted by Phil there. In the hospital, Gloria and George go down memory lane as Phil joins her on the bed to listen to a recorded lullaby from George's late biological mother. Phil gives some counsel and begs George to go back. George is going to have a very emotional time, but how will the week end? Please contact the website Stop Hate UK for independent and confidential support to those impacted by hate crimes, including confidential hate crime reporting services in many parts of the UK, if you have been affected by the issues surrounding racism and hate crimes discussed in this article. Visit BBC Action Line for additional help. 5. Ben Mitchell's sentence was made public. The poignant, heartbreaking last moments between Ben and his spouse Callum Highway, in which Callum begged Ben to confess to his crime and acknowledge that Callum would wait for him, are still fresh in our memories. Any expectations for the character to return soon look to be dashed when Phil finds out next week that Ben has been sentenced to 6 years in jail for fraud. How will Callum and Ben's daughter Lexi Pierce handle having Ben gone from their lives for an extended period of time as Phil processes the news? However, Dean distorts the facts and keeps blaming Jean and Harvey for everything. When Stacy and Linda see this confrontation in the square, they will realize how much Dean has fallen from grace. 7. As Denzel Danes misbehaves, Yolanda Truman apologizes to the Erie Pastor Clayton. Pastor Clayton takes the food truck project away from Yolanda as a form of punishment after she confronts him about his harassment of her. Instead, he claims that she is uncomfortable with him. Next week, Billy and Honey Mitchell stand by Yolanda, who is disappointed that her charitable plans have been cancelled. Yolanda is urged to go to prayer group by Denzel Danes, but this is merely so that Denzel and his friend Devinder Nugget Gulati may host a gathering of girls at their home. However, Yolanda leaves the party to return home at the exact moment when Denzel tells Nugget he no longer needs the steroids he purchased. When Yolanda spoils his plans by declining to attend prayer group, Denzel becomes irate and confronts Pastor Clayton outside the community center. After reprimanding Denzel for his impolite behavior, Yolanda and the pastor mend their friendship, with Yolanda offering an apology for her charges and Pastor Clayton giving her full control over their charitable endeavors. Was Yolanda, however, correct all along about Pastor Clayton? Will Yolanda find out that Denzel is still abusing steroids and that his body image is pushing him in a risky direction? Through With You, which provides support on mental health and alcohol and drug dependency, anyone who may relate to Denzel's situation can receive assistance. 8. Billy Mitchell withholds information in the weeks leading up to her marathon competition in honor of Billy's late granddaughter Lola Pierce Brown, who passed away from a brain tumor. Honey becomes irritated when Billy cancels their planned marathon shopping date. Billy receives assistance from fellow runner Jay Brown, who is obviously up to something. What, though, is his secret? Does Jay have a valid reason for assisting him? Has Harvey confronted Dean Wicks, the villainous plotter on EastEnders, after he gaslights Jean? Maybe it would be best if you weren't around for a while. In tonight's episode of EastEnders, Dean Wicks used his filthy behavior to play on Jean Slater's suspicions and push her into leaving Walford. When Jean questioned how Dean's daughter Jade Massoud got so sick, Dean told a falsehood claiming that the teenager hadn't been taking her medication. Jean was even more perplexed by Jade's will to recover and her confusion that the medications weren't helping. When Jean saw that Jade's tablets were empty due to nasty Dean's actions, he grabbed her and accused her of harming Jade. When Jean questioned Dean about this, he persisted in acting out his distorted account of what had happened, even using the time and ill to persuade Lily that she had made a grave error by giving Jade antibiotics. Jean gave her bipolar medicine. Shaken and stunned, Jean exited the apartment, only to discover later in her luggage the empty pills she had earlier seen, supporting Dean's accusation that she was the cause of his own evil scheme to keep Jade ill. Harvey Monroe eventually caught up with Jean in McClunky's, where she said that she had been experiencing periods of uncertainty and that Jade had been keeping her perpetually distracted lately. Harvey acknowledged that he had recently witnessed Jean looking tired and that there were moments when she wasn't sure where she was. When Dean paid Jean a visit at the Slaters, he showed Jean the interview he had conducted regarding Jade's illness and hinted that another piece about Jade's fall will be written, for which he made it plain he held Jean accountable. Dean said, "Maybe it would be best if you weren't around for a while." Taking his advice to heart, Jean packed up to head to Little Mo's for a respite. But Harvey noticed the expression on Dean's face as he made sure Jean got out of the taxi while he watched her get into it. Will Harvey reveal what Dean did while Jean was away? Please subscribe our channel.